Play ball! Welcome back to the On Deck Circle podcast. I am your host and director of Dynasty Baseball at fantasy6pack.net, Dave Eddy. You can find me on Twitter at Corporal Eddy. Before we get started, of course, as always, do us a favor. Make sure that you are subscribed, and if you're not, please go ahead and do so and help us out by smashing that like button. So we're going to take a real quick break here, and we're going to come back with the two usual suspects. So we'll be right back. All right, here we are with my two guys here. I got Nick Zanaboni and I got Jason Beckner joining me as usual. Nick, why don't you go ahead and have the honor of saying hey first?
Hey guys,
what's going on?
Your long-haired friend.
Had to take that shot, huh?
Always have to.
Fair enough.
My lighting is terrible right now. Sorry, guys. But so this week I had my Dynasty Player of the Week is going to be Corbin Burns. So that article should be dropping tomorrow morning. So make sure you guys check that out. Follow me on Twitter at nzanaboni93. Check out my DFS plays of the day on our Instagram Reels page. And I think that's it. That's all I got today, boys.
Nice. All right. And then, of course, we got Mr. Jason Beckner over here. Jason, say hello.
What's going on, everybody? You can find me over at Twitter at JRBex. I got an articles coming out on Monday and Tuesday at Fantasy Six Pack, Dynasty Buy or Sell. And then I also got the Prospect Report every week that's looking at some up-and-comers and even some people getting demoted. Another quick side note, I got to attend an in-person baseball game this past weekend.
Look at you.
2019. Nothing too special, though. It was Cubs Sox alternate training site scrimmage. But, hey,
yeah, whatever, man.
We'll take it. The Sox training site's like 2 minutes from my house, so we'll take it. I got to see Ronaldo Lopez on the mound, and yeah, pretty good.
All right. Well, let's get into some news of the week. We'll start off here with Michael Kopech, who's ranked 212th in my Dynasty rankings, but I think it's going to have a little bit of a bump with the May update because it kind of looks like I guess I wouldn't say he's back because I guess he was never really here, but he started out the season in the bullpen. Wasn't doing anything really but striking fools out. He had 13 Ks and 7 innings in the bullpen. And, just about everyone, has their stuff look better and play up in shorter bullpen stints. But when he got the call to the rotation, you would figure, that would die down a little bit. But nope. He now has got 27 strikeouts and 15 2/3 innings after he's made 2 starts. His most recent one is the one that's really caught people's attention. He went 5 innings, struck out 10 guys. Now, his xERA, which is based on quality of contact allowed as well as walks and strikeouts, is currently the 3rd best in Major League Baseball at 1.38. That's only behind Corbin Burns, and I had to look up who this guy was, but Jacob deGrom, whoever that is.
Weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know who that is. But clearly Kopech's value kind of is skyrocketing right now after, what he's been doing now that he's finally healthy and on the mound. So what do you guys think about, his dynasty value at the moment?
I mean, to the moon. I mean, it wasn't before. I mean, this is a guy, came over in the Chris Sale deal is one of the big deals aside with Moncada. So, I mean, this was the big trade. He's always had electric stuff, fastball velo through the roof, reached triple digits. I think even and even down to his minor league stats. I mean, 2018 at AAA, struck out 170 and 126 innings pitched. And I mean, I hit a couple of bumps in the road, and then obviously hit some Tommy John, and then opted out of 2020 due to personal reasons. A lot of rumors swirling around, but he did divorce his wife, and a lot of just some personal reasons that he took a whole 2020 off. So it's good to see him back dominating again. It sucks that it's only out of the bullpen right now, but he did have that one great start. Unfortunately, Lance Lynn's coming back, I think, this Saturday, so he most likely be relegated back to the bullpen. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he starts making a couple more starts here, and then even down the road. I mean, this guy's value's through the roof right now at as far as dynasty value goes.
For sure. I was not huge into Dynasty Baseball when like Kopech first started coming up for the Sox. So I always heard his name like, oh, like Michael Kopech's coming, blah, blah, blah. So then when they traded him, I was like, all right, like whatever. It's for Chris Sale. It's like a known commodity. But now I like get it because my God, his stuff is crazy. And you just got like, there's always a point where you just have to rely on that. Like he's gonna find his way back in the rotation just because he's gonna force his way back in the rotation. Like he's hitting triple digits. He's just unreal. The strikeout numbers are crazy, like you said. And even if it is a reliever, like if your starter needs to go five innings and he can just close it out in 4, you have 2 starters right there, like an opener, and then finishing up with him. I'd be buying. It's going to be impossible to buy, but
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to give him every chance, to stick in the rotation. I mean, that's where his value ultimately is at the highest. So, I mean, he's still coming off that injury. Like I say, he missed all of last season. So, when that rotation is fully healthy, it wouldn't be the craziest thing to throw him back in the bullpen, save his innings a little bit. But, you got to figure, at least 2022 and beyond, they're going to look to him to be a pivotal part of that rotation, if not sooner.
I mean, if your boy Dylan Cease can't get his control under his control, we might see a little bit of flip-flop in there between Kopech and Cease because he might be looking over. He might be better looking over his shoulder than Kopech coming down for his job, I think, but not necessarily right away. But we'll see what happens with Cease. I mean, it's got the stuff, but it's got to find that control. So, yeah, definitely interested to see how that goes.
And next up, we had a couple of recent call-ups with Alex Kirilloff, who's 161st in my Dynasty rankings, and Luis Patino, who's 166th in my Dynasty rankings. Now, Kirilloff was promoted from the alternate site this past Friday after the Twins put Sano on the IL. And Patino, who came over to the Rays in the deal for Blake Snell to the Padres in the offseason. Now, Patino made his debut this past Sunday, and he looked really sharp. He walked the first batter of the game, settled right down, went on to get the next 8 batters out. So he went just under 3 innings, 2 2/3, no hits, 1 walk, 3 Ks. I know Jason's pretty big on at least Kirilloff. So Jason, what do you think of these 2 guys getting the call up and their performance so far?
Yeah, I mean, we heard about it in our very first episode. Similar to Musgrove, I'm a huge Kirilloff stan. I mean, I've seen this guy coming up to the minors, and I've just been infatuated ever since, man. I mean, I'm really hoping this kid takes off now this time he's in. I know they gave him his, they trust him. Obviously, he debuted in the playoffs in 2020. I think on Sunday they even had him bat and clean up. I did see earlier today, about an hour ago, he did have his first career RBI double. So even though he was thrown out at second, they got a double. He did get the RBI though.
Got a little excited, man.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, this kid, what's not to like about him, man? Power to all fields, great contact rate, high OBP. I'm rooting for this kid all the way, man. This is my guy. Unfortunately, the Patino, not as high as him, but I mean, he might be proving me wrong at this point. He had a great opening. They used him as the opener. However, there's a few things that kind of concern me a little bit. But I mean, this was his first start, but the velo looked a little bit lower than normal. I think he was only touching like 94, but still early in the season, so can't expect too much yet. But did have some hard contact too, so just something to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with him now. I mean, Honeywell's been struggling and sent him down in the corresponding move to bring Patino up. So I know they've been doing a lot of flip-flopping with him and Honeywell as the openers. So I was curious to see what they're going to do with him next. They haven't really said anything what they're going to do yet with Patino, but I'm all for giving him another shot, at least as an opener, and see what he can do. Keep it rolling.
Yeah, I agree with Patino. I don't know if he can be a starter, like to expect 6-7 innings out of him. But he's with a perfect team right now to maximize his talent, as in like opening the game, give me 3-4 innings if you can. and then they just throw in another one of their little gadget pitchers that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know who Josh Fleming was, and now he's like an actual play. Like, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can use Patino in a way that maximizes his talent every day or every few days, then what's not to like? I wouldn't particularly be trying to acquire him just because a few innings doesn't really wow me enough to get him. As for Kirilloff, I am in love with this guy. I wasn't very familiar with him like last year, and then he got the call up. Like, I obviously knew he was one of their top prospects and everything. But I saw a tweet from Fantasy Central 1. Not sure if that's like a real fantasy baseball person, but he documented all of his exit velocities. And it was 77, 78, 83, 90, 93, 95, 96, 101, 103, 103, 104. He's hammering the ball. I mean, obviously, except for 77. But that was a ground. Like, the two 70s were ground outs. If he can keep squaring the ball up, he's going to find a way in that lineup. That Twins lineup is just scary, too. If they can just randomly throw this guy out there, is he playing first base or outfield for them?
Right now, I was just playing left field for them at the moment.
And I think Sano's on the DL, right?
Yep. But
So,
I would assume that he'll get some reps at first base too, because he actually had an error tonight in the game as well about an hour ago in left field. So he's more of a DH first base kind of guy. But again, like a lot of AL teams, they got a lot of DHs and a lot of first basemen and not enough spots. So
yeah. So, and like he's got Josh Donaldson on that. He's got some good hitters on that team that he can talk to and learn from. And I think he could eventually be an all-star at first base if his defense can be like relatively serviceable, because he can hit the ball.
All right, let's get on here. I mean, talk about Patino. Brewers have got some absolutely dominating starting pitching right now coming from Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns, 56th and 60th, respectively, in my dynasty rankings. So right now, these two guys are just, in my opinion, carrying the Brew Crew. And so it got me thinking about a draft strategy that I wanted to discuss real quick with you guys, and that's called pocket aces. Now, for those who don't know what that is, it's basically taking two aces at the top of your draft to solidify your staff just right out the gate. Now, I think that's a bit of a contrarian move, as most people, and we've discussed this, with our preferences, we'll focus on bats, especially early. So, with some of the dominance that we're seeing from a lot of the top arms to start the season, I'm kind of curious about, what you think now about employing that pocket aces strategy in a draft.
I'll start this one off, Jace, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not something I would ever do. Pitching's just too volatile, and like you'd be able to find these guys somewhat, like maybe not an ace, but like Corbin Burns isn't going to be drafted in the top 30 next year draft. I don't think.
I don't know the way he's going, man. In a redraft at least.
Yeah.
In a dynasty,
like DeGrom doesn't
probably
even go
not
that high. Like, it's just a matter if the industry turns that way. It would need to be a shift in just everybody, as opposed to just like a league's belief or like a couple people in the league's belief. Just because like pitching can be found eventually, like maybe not on the waiver wire, but like you can get like Trevor Rogers. Like, he's having a great year. You could have stumbled upon him late in your draft just because you read like an article about him in the offseason.
Right.
So pitching you can always find, unless you're really going to get like, if you can get, no, still no. You don't go back to back. Maybe like one pitcher, like get a DeGrom and then get a bat. Or if like you're on the turn.
Look, I mean, you guys know I like pitching more than you do, and this is a risky strategy that I don't even deploy. Again, the pitching can be so volatile. I mean, unless you can find, it's not easy to find a DeGrom, a Bieber, and a Cole. They don't just like grow on trees and you can find these generational talents easily. At the top of the draft, I mean, unless you can find some 2 young guys that, are up and coming. I know like when the Mets were in their prime, I mean, you could have taken like, let's say, Syndergaard, DeGrom, but then look what's happened to Syndergaard. So, I mean, you can't really always just rely on these guys that, contribute year in, year after out, aside from like DeGrom, obviously he's an outlier. But again, like Nick said, you can just find pitching later in rounds. When it's coming to talk about startup drafts and stuff, what I like to do is try to find, pinpoint some guys that might be pocket aces or aces 3-4 years down the road. You know what I mean? I mean, you can find, guys like Kopech even back when, first year player drafts or when he was first coming up and things like that you might be able to, pick out and watch them grow into aces. That's my strategy. I don't, I'm definitely not deploying any pocket ace strategy unless it's maybe like a shallower league and you got the turn, like the 11-12 pick or something. You want to grab like Cole and DeGrom or something like that. But yeah, it's not one that I'm looking to use ever.
Yeah, and I mean, I really do think that, the type of league that you're in, does make a bit of a difference. The shallower the league, I think, the more you can get away with it just because, fewer players overall are going to get rostered. So, you can find those hitters and stuff later on. If you were to do like our 30-teamer, and I don't care where you pick, but if you were to go pitcher right off the bat, first of all, you might not even get 2 aces. But then, by the time your 3rd pick comes around, you're talking about best case scenario, pick 61 is where your first hitter is coming from.
Right.
So even if you say, you're right dead in the middle, you're talking like pick 75 for your first hitter. I mean, that gets a little bit sketch, if I were to sit here and take my dynasty rankings and I were to scroll up here, let me just see right around where 75 is. 75 is Michael Conforto. So Michael Conforto is going to be your, your lead bat, or someone in that neighborhood. So I don't know. The one thing I will say though is, I don't know how many of these you guys participated in, but we were doing mock drafts just galore, getting ready for TGFBI. There was like 10 or 12 of them that we did, and I participated in at least half of them, if not more. And so I was trying different things. I was kind of like going and trying to mostly punt pitching. I was trying to mostly punt hitting. I was trying to focus on making sure I got 2 quality catchers. I was just doing all sorts of stuff, focusing on trying to get holds early. And I was doing a whole bunch of different things. And I was actually really interested in the couple of times where I focused on pitching early because I wanted to see what my offense would look like. And I will say that at least in, a 14-team TGFBI style league, focusing on pitching early and then hitting, then attacking the hitting late usually actually worked out to have pretty good lineups or overall rosters. So I don't know that I would have the guts to do it specifically in a dynasty just because, like we said, pitching is just so volatile that all you have to do is miss on one of them for a variety of reasons, and I think you're in trouble. Whereas I don't think you have that same risk with bats. So
yep.
I don't know. I don't know that I could actually do it in a redraft, I guess. Not such a big deal because if you have a problem, it's 1 year and you start again.
Right.
But dynasty-wise, man, that's still really risky. Even to take just a pitcher just in the first round, let alone, doubling up on him. That's my 2 cents there.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Let's get to the advanced stat of the week. So new segment that we decided to do. So Nick, are you ready for your advanced stat of the week?
School is in session.
Yeah. I'm ready to roll.
So this week is going to be CSW percentage. Now this is something that was coined and created by Nick Pollock in 2018. CSW stands for called strikes plus whiffs. So it takes into account called strikes, swinging strikes, swinging pitch outs, and foul tips into the glove, but is not counting foul balls. So CSW rate, as described by Nick, is a simple, fine-tuned, and most importantly, predictive metric that gives us a better glimpse into the true skill of a pitcher. So since this is a stat that Jason is so big on, Jason, why don't you go ahead and take it from there?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just defined it perfectly. And this is something like
I hope so. I literally took it off the pitcher list website. So
there you go.
if I'm gonna give them credit for it, I'm gonna give them credit for it in their own words.
Yeah, perfect. And then since 2018, not only was it coin, it's just taken off. I mean, it's getting quoted on ESPN, Sunday Night Baseball, and Monday. Any ESPN broadcast, MLB Network's using it. I mean, it's taken off. The best thing about it is, it's great correlation to K percentage, and you can use it to kind of tell, if you're looking at a game by game basis of, quote unquote, when a pitcher's on or has their stuff, that if they're dealing, like the term that use that phrase. One of the good things takes out the foul balls. A lot of times you see pitchers, you go ahead in the count 0-2 because they got 2 quick foul balls. Well, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're dealing and they're having a good night. So that's one of the reasons I kind of like it too. It's just, I guess like the thought that you can just use it to look at and see who's attacking the strike zone and, who's using the strike zone and power pitching more and just using K rate. It's a good correlation to core rate and K rate. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I like it a lot. It just, even if you look at, like, I know, you're talking earlier today about the leaders. If you look at it, I mean, there's a reason why it's a value stat.
Leaders really stick out.
Yeah.
That top 10 is like probably the top 10 pitchers in the league. If you like.
And there's a reason for that. I mean, it's just, again, just, it kind of shows you and correlates to the K percentage and the guys that are, dealing this year. I mean, the good 2021 leader right now is Corbin Burns. I mean, I think the guy's got 40 strikeouts and no walks. I mean, he's clearly attacking the strike zone on that one.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I really look for in advanced stats is, if you come up with this fancy stat that you think is super cool and you've got half of the guys in the top 10 are part-time players or just, just trash. It's like, well, okay, it's whatever. But when you get a stat where you can look at it and say, oh yeah, these are the guys that are, really dominating right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, no one stat is going to encompass, everything. I mean, some of these, advanced stats will try to mix a whole variety of things into one, like WAR is probably the biggest one where that's kind of one that people will look at as a gospel and say, well, hey, look at his WAR. But when you have this metric literally kind of defining, like Nick said, man, when you look at the top 10, you go, yeah, these are the top 10 guys in baseball right now, or pretty damn really close. That adds a lot of validity to it.
Or 2. You got Dylan Bundy. He's in at 9. Yeah. But he's always people have been like, he might be good. And then Freddie Peralta's in at 7. But he's having a good year. I text you guys, right? He's just throwing strikes.
Yeah. So
and I had a good. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so it all makes sense. Again, it doesn't mean necessarily that Dylan Bundy's a top 10 pitcher in baseball, but what it's saying is he's performing like that right now. So once you get to the end of the year, or at least to the All-Star break, let's say, you'll start to get a bigger sample size to become a more accurate thing. But it's not like you've got, Matthew Boyd, number 2, and you're like, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. You've got guys that are up there that make sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And then just one other note on that too. I mean, one of the less advanced stats that I like to look at is, when there's a league average, like OPS plus or win run plus, that 100 mark is usually your average. So there's also an average with CSW. I mean, it's usually around depending on the end of the season, it's always, you need a bunch, like Dave said, you need a large sample size to get the good average, but usually it's going to be anywhere from 25 to 30%. So if you see guys with over 30% CSW, then those guys are dominating usually. Just another quick note.
All right, so let's head on to what we want to try to do a little bit of every week, a little bit of buy, sell, hold. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and throw out one hitter, and I'm going to throw out one pitcher that's either off to a good or a bad start kind of. And we're going to talk about whether we, like to buy, sell, or hold on these guys. So, so for hitter, I'm going to go with Carson Kelly. All right. Carson Kelly is doing quite well all across the board. So let's rattle off some stats here. Advanced stats first. We'll go 73rd percentile X batting average, 95th percentile X slugging, 96th percentile in X WOBA. And he's walking a ton too. He's 99th percentile in walks. But traditional stats, he's batting 318. Those walks are translating all the way up to a 500 on base percentage.
Wow.
Scored 10 runs, but he's got 5 home runs and 12 RBIs so far. So Carson Kelly, at a position that you obviously struggle to find offense at sometimes, catcher. What are you guys doing with Carson Kelly? Buy, sell, or hold?
I'm selling. I'm not a huge catcher guy. I don't like catchers. I don't think they're almost like kickers of the fantasy football. But I actually did sell Carson Kelly a couple years ago when he was dealt to Arizona, and he was going to be the the starter. So, that was also a 2-catcher league, so I got quite the return on that. But like I'm not a huge catcher guy. Obviously, the stats right now, it's a small sample size, but they're definitely something to take note of. But to me, I think the regression's coming. And he's never had an X batting average above 250. He's never had a WOBA above 340. The regression's coming. One thing I did notice though is that I would monitor is he's handling fastballs and velocity a lot better than he has in the past. His barrel percentage is up as well too. So I mean, people are trying to get him out with fastballs, but he's adjusted to it. So that's one thing to keep monitoring going forward. But to me, he's a sell. I'm not interested in anything with Carson Kelly. But again, in 2-catcher league, he might hold some value for sure, but not on my 2-catcher league.
I'm in the same boat with catchers. I don't care who you are. If you're maybe JT Real Muto would be the only exception. But like you can throw him at first base in some leagues, so that doesn't even count as a catcher. Mm-hmm. But I would definitely be selling. You can probably get a decent amount of maybe like a solid prospector or like a prospect and a flyer, just because some people are the opposite of Jason and I and love catchers. And they're like, oh, there's value in this hitting catcher. But it's just not someone that I'm going to be seeking. That's really all I got.
I mean, for me, I guess the answer always kind of depends, and if I'm a high, heavy win now team and I've got a whole lot catcher, then yeah, I could see myself going out and, acquiring a catcher. Like that would be fine. Because a catcher, unless I've, got an Adley Rutschman or something and he gets called up and I'm just not moving him, unless that's the case, I'm probably going to be cycling through catchers quite a bit, maybe even through the season, but from year to year, kind of what makes the most sense at that point in time. So if I was win now and had a hole there, I could see myself acquiring a guy like Kelly. But in reality, just in a vacuum, I agree with you guys. I would sell it. Same thing with me, not high on catchers. I'm sure that I could probably sell him, get a decent return, probably hit the waiver wire and stream catchers every couple weeks or whatever. And, I'm not going to get the same production, but I think I'd probably fill a hole with what I get for Kelly. And the net sum of all that, with the waiver wire pickup is probably going to be beneficial to me.
For sure.
That's the way I look at it. So as far as pitchers go, let's go Craig Kimbrel. Now, I could sit here and rattle off a whole bunch of these advanced stats, but what it boils down to is this. At the bare minimum, he is in the 92nd percentile of every important category, okay? And in that, he is also in the top 95th percentile or better in pretty much all of them. So in 8 games, he's thrown 9 innings. He's got 14 Ks to 5 walks. So not a super great, K to walk ratio, but certainly not bad. Hasn't given up a run yet. 0.67 ERA and 4 saves. What do you guys think? Buy, sell, hold, Craig Kimbrel.
I think as a resident Cub fan, I'll take this one, and I'm buying.
Of course, no shit, right?
I'm loving this rejuvenation, man. Both it's a small sample, like you said, but both his K rate and his K to walk rate are back to 2018 numbers. When he's saving 30, 40 games with Boston. One thing I noticed is relying on his curveball more than ever. He's throwing it 42% of the time. I know it's, again, a small sample size, but he's only allowed 14 batted balls. And of those, he's not allowed 1 barrel.
Wow. That's good. That's impressive.
Yeah. So he's missing bats. And I know going back to advanced stat, his inning pitches don't really qualify for CSW percentage, but if it did, it'd rank 5th best at
Wow.
I think it's like 35 or something, 36%. So yeah, I'm buying Kimbrel. I think he's back. I think a lot of success is due to the curveball usage. So hopefully, he can keep it going because the fastball velocity is still there again this year. So yeah, buy.
What's very funny to me is in my notes, I wrote sell, sell, sell.
Oh boy.
Nice.
I'm strictly, it really depends on your makeup of your team. Like if you're a bad team, say, sell it. You can go get probably a top 150 prospect, top 100 prospect from a team that needs the holds and the saves and like the ratios. If you're a winning team, you keep him because he's helping you in those categories.
Right.
But like he's not going to be, I mean, maybe he is, but he's not going to be like this for the next 3 years. He's good for now. He was great in Boston. I loved him here. He looks to have that intensity back again, which is great to see. He's got some more swag on the mound. There was a point where he's looked defeated out there. Now he's like got the fire in his eye again. And like, that's great to see because he's a guy that you like to root for because he plays the game the right way.
Yeah.
It's that lettuce, man. He's got that lettuce flowing.
Yeah.
It's Sanaboni style.
Yeah.
He's got that swagger back, that lettuce.
I mean, for me, I think, Carson Kelly and Kimbrel are kind of in the same boat. And I would probably say this about anyone that are in the two positions of, catcher and relief pitcher, right? Yep. The difference here is I think that what Kelly is doing is not really sustainable. I would, if I did trade for him, I would expect to see regression. If I trade for Kimbrel, obviously he's going to give up an earned run. I mean, it's not like he's going to maintain that, but he is a guy that, especially in TGFBI, I was trying to be aggressive and target. He was kind of a guy that had fallen a little bit, and I thought that I could make him, him and Kirby Yates were the two guys that I was really trying to get. I thought I could get a good potential, like, elite closer a little later, and I still was a little bit late on both of them. But Kimbrel's a guy that I did believe in going into the year. He's obviously got the pedigree. Same thing. If I'm a win now team, then yeah, that's even though I don't like to pay for relievers, I feel pretty confident in him. I'm not going to buy him unless that's the case. And if I had him, like Nick said, if I'm trying to win, then that would make a lick of sense to sell him. But if I'm not 100% all in, I think I would cash in now because
don't sell him too late.
Well, yeah, exactly. Don't sell him too late. But what's he doing for me? He's more valuable as a trade chip than getting me some saves and some ratios that I really don't give a shit about. And I mean, exactly like what you said, in 3 years, is he going to be doing this? I mean, I doubt it. Is it possible? Yeah, of course. But I mean, I doubt it. So I just look at it, and no matter who it is from the catcher position or the relief position, no matter what they're doing, no matter their stats, no matter who they are, I feel like my answer is going to be sell in all these cases. Those are positions that I will always sell high on when I can, unless you're, again, win now and you're, in the process of doing so.
Yeah.
All right, boys. So with that said, let's get into the final thing here, our final diss. Who wants to go ahead and go first?
Well, first we need to give Nick another advanced stat for next week.
I mean, we can keep it a secret.
Okay.
Or do you want to throw it out there now?
That in the group chat.
Cliffhanger.
Okay. All right. We'll find something. We'll do something. We'll do something around the 100, average thing. We'll mix it up a little bit.
There you go.
I'll do the final diss first. So my final diss is actually going to be on myself. Because what was it, about 10 minutes ago I realized that it's got a lot dark in here pretty quick, and I didn't really realize it, so I had to click my light on because I was sitting over here like in a cave. So shame on me.
Mine is also on myself, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, right.
I didn't write anything about Carson Kelly in my notes at all because I didn't see him.
Oh,
he's a catcher. Don't worry about it.
I think I looked at the wrong sheet or something. I have something about Biggio, Garcia, Devin Williams, and Kimbrel, but
yeah, that was on last week's notes.
Yeah,
I switched them.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
I'll just pile on that diss and Nick, get prepared next time.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting, Nick.
Yeah.
Well, your hair can only make up for so much.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Someone's got to be the heartthrob.
Yeah,
It ain't me. So. All right, guys. Well, with that, another great episode. I appreciate you guys joining me. Anyone that has not subscribed, whether you're watching this live or watching a replay, again, please do so. I schedule this ahead of time so you can get a little 30-minute reminder that it's coming. And if you did enjoy it, go ahead and throw us a like. We would really appreciate it.
Yes,
other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Subscribe, like, and comment.
Mm-hmm.